The Professors is brought to you by Blackborder.com. The site features everything from pro player articles by Gerard Fabiano, Nico Boni, Joel Calafel, Jan Massacard, podcasts, the Ask the Judge and Ask the Pro features, forums, a deck building tool, some of the lowest prices on the internet, and more. So go check out Blackborder.com today.
Is the microphone finally fixed?
The microphone is finally fixed.
The microphone's fixed.
This is Jace Bellerin from Jiffy Photo and Baseball Card.
So what's your opinion on costumes?
My opinion on costumes is whoever wears them is not likely to get laid ever.
Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of The Professors. This week we've got a hybrid of footage from the local Zendikar Game Day. We'll close up the week with a new yet familiar standard deck. So let's draw. What do you think of Standard right now? What do you think about Red? What happened to Blue?
I think Standard's completely undefined. It happens when you have a new set.
Still like different stuff going around.
I think Jund is a good deck. I'm not one of the naysayers that say that it's not a good deck or that it should be a good deck or that they need to neuter it at all. Jund is the problem that we were trying to solve. Like normally when you start out in a format with a new set, you'll have an aggro deck come out first, and then like the aggro deck will be plentiful for a little bit, and then somebody will have a control deck come out. And then after control deck's plentiful, people will have the mid-range deck. I just feel that the mid-range deck came out early. I feel like the Jund is the mid-range deck already. So the control and the aggro decks have to try and work around it already being mid-range.
It's not like Jund's like the new fairies.
Why, when fairies was good, would you play anything that's not fairies?
I'm playing Jund today, and there's just answers for everything.
It's going to be Jund everywhere. It's a decent deck. I mean, it has lots of card advantage with Blightnings, and I'm pretty sure Bloodbraiding Elf into a Blightning is really good.
I'm hoping sometime in the future it'll change and let other decks open up.
The Boros Bushwhacker deck's really good. It gets some explosive hands. Like if you get Step Links, play the Geopeats, and a bunch of fetch lands, it's really good. Like that, and that.
It gives you incremented advantage with Cascade. Everybody has to put like good cards in their deck to beat that, but also cards to deal with other decks in the format. If you can't beat them, join them, and I realize that everybody else is trying to join them because the deck is really good.
How has control been affected? Do you think Blue's bad right now?
I think Blue right now can be a good support role. There's a lot of aggro. Hopefully with the next, two sets in the block that maybe a control deck might come back.
Control's still around. I mean, you see the Patriotic control decks. You see Pyromancer's combo, but it's not really control. I've also been working on a Grixis control deck. It's not bad, but it needs a Wrath effect. That's not Infest or Pyroclasm.
The next two sets are going to really define whether or not Blue is going to be good.
Yeah, basically those Cryptic Commands are a lot of its good cards.
Well evaluated.
It's a toss-up for me for Baneslayer Angel and Maelstrom Pulse.
Baneslayer Angel. You're at 1 life, play Baneslayer Angel. You're about to win, play Baneslayer Angel.
Day of Judgment or Pulse.
Not Lotus Cobra. Bloodbraid Elf. Most utility.
Sphinx of Jor-El. I think it's the best late game drop that a control deck can play.
Baneslayer, a little overrated. It's an extremely powerful card. Yes, it does die to everything, excess Halo Hunter and Hellkite.
I think Lotus Cobra's overrated. I think Baneslayer's overrated. I recently read an article by Richard Feldman called Rembrandt, and he was stating the fact that the reason why he didn't play 4 Baneslayers in his main deck is because of the BGD theory, which stands for Baneslayer's gonna die. Every deck in the format plays Path to Exile if it's white. Every deck in the format plays Terminate if it's red and black. Every deck in the format has answers to Baneslayer Angels in 4-ofs or as multiples like Jund does. Jund has Pulse, Jund has Bituminous Blast plus whatever, Jund has Terminate, Jund has a cycled Resounding Thunder. Like, there's so many cards that the Jund deck has that makes Baneslayer bad. And I think cards like Sphinx of Jor-El really, with the Shroud ability, get around that. And like Wall of Denial, like cards that you can play that have Shroud are really good right now.
I think Lotus Cobra is overrated, actually. If you don't have a land drop on turn, 3, so, you keep a not so good hand thinking that your Cobra's going to get you there, and it doesn't. It makes it overrated to me because now it's a slot in your deck that could be used for something more powerful.
It's not bad. It's not good. I think it's not $40. It's decent when you go Lotus Cobra, like turn 3 Ob Nixilis, or like if you go really ridiculous, turn 3 Garruk, untap lands, and play Elspeth.
back in the days of Ice Age.
I didn't start playing Magic till the launch party of Shards of Alara.
Started playing Magic about 4 or 5 years ago when Saviors first came out.
Time Spiral?
Mercadian Masks. I started playing Tournament Magic around the end of Mirrodin, the beginning of Kamigawa block.
Least memorable set. That's probably why I can't remember it. Alara Reborn.
Conflux. I didn't like Conflux at all.
Okay, probably Saviors.
Cold Snap.
If I were to go through the sets of Magic that I know, and like its impact, Homelands.
Taking note of what those at Zendikar Game Day said, Jund really is still the dominant deck. However, as we know, tournaments aren't won by playing the best deck. They're won by decks that can competitively resist the best deck. I wrote an 8,000-word article on this last week and detailed why Corey Legier's red-white-blue deck had made it to the top 8 of the Pro Tour Austin Last Chance qualifier. I also reproposed the Grixis-colored Pyromancer Ascension deck, but with so-so results. Over the last week, though, I've come to realize the way you beat Jund is not by playing a different Jund deck. The deck is just going to run into Infi Celestial Purges and double negatives, and it's not by playing the blue control deck. I've tried this so many times, most majorly including Bant and Justice Control, without success. They were made to beat Jund, and do so quite handedly, but they don't beat the aggro decks. When the only play you can make for the first 4 turns of a game is a single Lightning Bolt or Essence Scatter, it loses effectiveness versus the opposing aggro player. Therefore, I propose that the way you beat Jund is C. Play the quick tempo aggro deck. Question is, once you get to the 4th turn, how do you deal with Earthquake for 3, Day of Judgments, Infests, Volcanic Fallouts, and Pyroclasms, all seeing play now to deal with primarily Boros Bushwhacker and Red-Green Elves? The answer in my case was two-parted. First, Dauntless Escort. Dauntless Escort was last seen when the green-white overrun decks needed a way to not die to Wrath of God and Fire Spout. While Dauntless Escort is no Pact of Negation that came out of nowhere, it still has the effect that you have to kill it first, then kill everything else, but on different turns. The second part of the answer to damage is Harm's Way. While my list runs only 3/4 of the Harm's Way to Dauntless Escorts, Harm's Way is this surprising nuisance that Dauntless Escort is not. It's a utility card that saves your creatures from being 2-for-1, and you going to the downswing in the life total versus red, to you only losing 1 creature but being on the upswing in life. Before we discuss it further, let's take a look at the list. I got the idea for the deck from Ethan Sturm. Ethan felt very strongly about the deck, specifically after he top-8'd regionals last year. One of the points Ethan had made about the deck was the speed, but also the resilience the deck had. It has good creatures like 3/3s for 3 that attack, but they also have abilities tacked on to assist you later on. The unfortunate card missing from this deck post-rotation is Wootleaf Liege, because of its +2/+2 to half the deck. Still, our trade-off is that we get a format with more Blightning, yet we still have a 24-land deck and 4 Knight of the Reliquaries. Especially against Jund, Knight of the Reliquary helps as a 4/4 on turn 3, or even a 5/5 at turn 2 sometimes, where the opponent believes playing a Blightning gives you no advantage. Last week in my article, I mentioned all the 3/3s that Jund has, and how the number 3 was so important, and in that, why Broodmate Dragon affected the game so drastically. Garruk does the same. He helps you get more 3/3s to fight opposing 3/3s and lightning bolts. One of the reasons Jund is such a good mid-range deck is because it doesn't just play 3/3s, but 3/3s with lightning bolts on the side to kill other 3/3s. Thirdly, the mana base is kind of funky, as the single Turntimber Grove poses a small extra threat and Gargoyle Castle adds an additional instant speed 3/4 to your board, often to bash in for remaining damage post Day of Judgment. Also, the reason the 4 fetches are 2 Marsh Flats and 2 Misty Rainforests specifically are to lure your opponent into thinking you're playing a mill deck in the case of Marsh Flats, or a green-blue landfall deck in the case of Misty Rainforest. As for the sideboard, obviously our biggest and most problematic matchup is Jund. So we board in Celestial Purges, Wall of Reverences, and Undecided. But whatever it is, it'll affect if we play Terra Stompers or Mold Adders against the blue decks. See, at one point the Undecideds were Mycoid Shepherds, in which case the Terra Stompers are necessary for the ability to gain relevance, and often assist with the red deck matchup as well. Other ideas included everything from Oran Reef Recluse to Cliffrunner Behemoth to just having Naturalize as another way to deal with all those pesky enchantments running around. All 3 of them. So what do you think? So until next time, when we take a look at 2 more sealed pools, build the decks, pit them against each other, and have our second sealed pool competition, this is Anthony Palmario. Tapped out for now, but we'll untap soon.